Hey, what's going on, y'all? Got a quick story for you guys, but first, just want to rep the old school pre-PT grind t-shirt. I don't even know if I can call that old school. We've only really been in business. We've been doing this for over like a year and a half now, but we've really only been in business for like a year. So, old school pre-PT grind t-shirt, rocking it today. If you want to cop one, we got tons of colors, tons of different, hoodies, crew necks, t-shirts. Go to preptgrind.com. Go cop it. But today I want to talk to you about a story of regret from one of the patients I saw a couple days ago, and why it kind of resonated with me, and why I don't want it to be you as a pre-PT. So if you're new to this group and you're new to this pre-PT grind experience, my name is Casey Coleman. I'm one of the co-founders of Pre-PT Grind, and welcome. This is a mentorship mic drop, I believe we're calling it from now on. We just hop in here live in the group to give you guys value. So this story is a story of regret that I'm just going to rattle off real quick. What's up, Eric, Shanahan, Brandon, Cindy, Tim? What's going on, y'all? Good to see y'all here. So basically, I had a patient a couple days ago, and it was an eval, great eval, just had some shoulder problems. Actually, it was like a shoulder repair or anything like that. Don't worry, you guys will never know him. I won't say his name. It's all HIPAA compliant, all that good stuff. But had a shoulder problem, and after, we got through all the objective stuff and subjective stuff, all the stuff we were supposed to go through, we started talking, and he asked me, how long have I been doing this? Just like a lot of people ask me, because I guess I just look so young. They're like, who's this little kid, trying to treat me? I'm 50 years old, whatever. So he asked me that, and we got to talking. He was like, yeah, I was actually in the medical field when I first graduated. So he started off wanting to go, his end goal was to be an orthopedic surgeon. That was his end goal. But now we're going to rewind and back it up. So his end goal was to be an orthopedic surgeon. He never became one. Never became one. So I just want you to think about that right now before I go any further. Is your end goal to be a physical therapist? And what if you never become one if you quit? So as I go on, his end goal was to become an orthopedic surgeon. And he had some troubles along the way. And this is what happened. So he went through undergrad and all that, and he actually became a clinical lab scientist or a medical technologist. There's so many names for this, but basically in the hospital, if you ever did observation hours or clinical rotations, the nurse or the doctor calls up like, hey, we need more blood, or hey, can you run this test? And hey, we need this urinalysis done, or we need this done, so on and so forth. They call down to the lab. They call down to the clinical lab scientists. They call down to the medical technologists, whatever the hospital, terms their names. And basically they run the test, and they kind of, I don't want to say diagnose them, but you guys get the idea. They do all the hard work that the nurses and the doctors call down for these special tests. So that was his job. That's basically what he graduated undergrad school to do. That was his bachelor's in that, and he was working there. Then some hard times came along in the 90s, and he got laid off from that job. And in that time, he was trying to, apply to med school to ultimately become what? An orthopedic surgeon, since that was his end goal. What's going on, Robin? How's it going? So in that time, he had a couple struggles. And those struggles were that he had to apply twice because the schools that he went to and was taking prerequisites in, they did not do his credentials right. They didn't do his transcripts right. They didn't do his I think it's called AMCAS for med school instead of like it's PTCAS for us. I think it's called AMCAS for med school. So they didn't put his transcripts in right for AMCAS 2 years in a row. 2 years in a row they didn't do it right. So if you guys are watching live or replay, let me know in the comments. Just say I if you've ever had any problems with PTCAS and transcripts and GRE scores and observation hours, letters of recommendation, essays, this and that with PTCAS, getting your stuff in on time. Because my patient, that was his biggest problem, and that's ultimately what led him not to become his ultimate dream of being an orthopedic surgeon. So just let me know, live or replay, just let me know, just say I. So He had troubles twice in a row with the same school. He started early the second time. He did what he had to do. And he had so much trouble that his parents at the time were actually going to call like lawyers on the school because they were messing up his life. They were messing up his career because the school didn't take care of what they needed to take care of for him to get in med school. Now, he didn't disclose like his grades or his MCAT score. I don't know any of that. But I just was thinking about so many of you and what your struggles have been with PTCast so far, and so on and so forth. What's going on, Benita? Thanks for joining us. And I was just thinking about you guys, like how many of you have had struggles with that, with your transcripts, with your letters of recommendation, with you having to call PTCast, with you having to call your school and drive back and forth and make all these trips just to make sure your stuff is in order, just to make sure you can get into PT school on time and without any, disparities or without any hiccups. Like I was just thinking about you guys and how many of you were on the verge of quitting or giving up, or how many of you were on the brink of just calling it all quits because of things out of your control not going your way, just like my patient with getting into med school. So let's go on with the story. Basically, he didn't get in the second time, and to make it even worse, he has a brother, and his brother went to a different undergrad school and ended up getting into med school. And his brother is now I think, internal medicine physician. His brother is an internal medicine physician. They both were about the same age. They both wanted to be physicians. I think they both wanted to be orthopedic surgeons. And now, just because a few years of struggle or just because a few setbacks, he is now not an orthopedic surgeon. But on the other hand, his brother is a physician, an internal medicine physician. Like how bad, I just didn't, like how bad does that sting for him? Like I just saw the regret in his eyes, like the whole rest of the eval when he kept talking about where he wanted to be, where he should have been, what could have been happening and with his life so far and how things could have been so different if he just made a few different choices that far back in his life. That far back in his life. So with you guys especially, I think this story resonates most with the non-traditional students or the older students that we have in our group and following us, because we get these threads and these messages all the time saying, am I too old enough? Can I come from a different career? I have kids, I have this, so on and so forth. What's going to be your regret 30, 40 years from now? Yeah, you're not 25. Yeah, you're not 21. Yeah, you're 32, maybe a baby on the way. Yeah, you're 34 with a transition from another job. So what? You still have a lot of time left. What are you going to think back on this time? Like, how are you going to think back on this time 30 years or 40 years from now? Are you going to regret not going into it just because you were a little older than your classmates, or you had just a little bit more difficult time, or you had to retake another class, or somebody messed up your transcripts? I don't want you to be my patient. I don't want you to be somebody else's patient in 30 years telling that story that I was told. I don't want you not to get in PT school and 30, 40 years from now, you're sitting across from a 20-something-year-old physical therapist, doctor of physical therapy, telling your story about how you wanted to go to PT school, how some things didn't work out, and now you didn't live your whole life as your dream to become a PT. Because that's what I saw in my patient. He wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon, and because of some decisions that just didn't go quite his way 30-something years ago, he's now in a very different position now. So to make matters even, to make the story sink in just a little bit further, he ended up going into a different career, like with a big phone company. I think like putting up like cables and running wires, and I don't know the whole details of how the job is, but he had to do a lot of overhead work. 20 years, 30 years or so in that field, and now he has a rotator cuff repair. He had to get surgery, a rotator cuff repair. I think it was like his right arm or something like that. So what could have been different? Would he even have a rotator cuff repair if 30 years ago he tried one more time or made a few different decisions that made him get into med school? Would he have been the one operating on someone else instead of getting operated on if he made a few different decisions 30 years ago? Will you be the one taking care of someone 20 years 20 years from now, instead of being the one taken care of 30 years ago, 30 years from now, if you are making a few different decisions right now. I just don't want that to be, I don't want you to be my patient. And so many years from now, I don't want you to be him with that regret in your face saying, I could have gotten into PT school, but I just didn't have the fortitude to keep going. I just didn't have the fortitude to keep going. Because he started asking me questions about muscles and surgery and the rotator cuff and this and that and so many things. You could see the intrigue in his eyes, and you can see his mind spinning. Like, man, I wanted to be in somewhere in this position. I wanted to be in the medical field. I wanted to be the one operating instead of being operated on. So that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. I don't want you to regret your decision of not working just a little bit harder. I don't want you to regret the decision of not putting in a little bit more work. I don't want you to regret the decision of not investing in yourself. I don't want you to regret the decision of not doing whatever you have to do to make your future dream possible. Because that's what happened to my patient just a few days ago that I experienced with him. So that's pretty much it. Just a short story of regret and why I do not want it to be you. If I can make any difference in any just one person's life, a couple years, 10 years, 20 years from now, it's worth it for me to come back after work, take time out of my night to tell you this story. It is totally, totally worth it. So hope you got some value from that. Tag your friends, share it out. Whatever you need to do, like it, comment, whatever, so more people can see this video and get value from it. Because the more interaction we get, the more people sharing it, the more people liking it, the more people will see it and get saved from me telling the story about one of my patients and them now having a different outcome or a different life 20, 30 years from now. So thanks for joining me. Like I said, if you want one of these Pre-PT Grind t-shirts, check it out, www.preptgrind.com. Just scroll to the bottom. You'll see a link with the website, with the link to the external website to get your shirts. Rep them, post them, let us know, tag us in the Instagram post, Facebook post, whatever it is, so we can share it out and blow your Instagram up as well. Meredith, what is going on? Thanks for joining. John, how's it going? Katie, thanks for joining. Danielle, what's up? What's up? Thanks for joining me, guys. Shanahan, it goes back to how bad you really want it and what is your why. Abso-freaking-lutely. Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining me. I'll talk soon. Don't regret any decisions that you're making now for the future. Take care.